الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded every single one of us in the Quran. Allah said, Qum, stand up. قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, and stand the night in prayer. Me and you, there's not a single slave in this world except that he or she was commanded that we must stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying to Him, worshipping Him, and submitting to Him, His oneness. But brothers and sisters, there are many of us who refuse to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Insan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to us, He said, extend the sajda, the prostration to me, and the glorification, the tasbih of me in the night. And then Allah mentions those who do not do that, who do not worship Allah, they do not praise Allah, they don't make sajda to Allah. Allah said they are a people who love this life, this fleeting materialistic life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that they turned their back in this world for the worship of Allah, and they directed and faced themselves towards the dunya. The girls faced the boys faced the girls, everyone faced the money. They faced this dunya, looking good, looking pretty, but no one worried about looking good before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, covering up correct coming, wudu, praying the salah. Allah said they didn't do this. They turned their back on Allah, they faced the dunya. And when they turned their back on Allah and turned towards the dunya, they left behind them yawman thaqila, a heavy day, an extremely heavy day. Brothers and sisters, this is none other than the Day of Judgment. Now pay attention. If you refused to stand before Allah in this life, in the salah, then know one thing, that there is a day where you will stand before Allah regardless. Every single disbeliever, every hypocrite, every mushrik, every single believer, everyone will stand before Allah. Standing before Him is not something that you and I can get out of. And on that day, the standing will be difficult. Allah tells us at the beginning, the very first ayah of Surah Al-Hajj, look at how Allah starts. Ya ayyuhan nas, O people. He's not just speaking to the believers. He's not just speaking to the disbelievers. Allah said, O people, O mankind. Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum. Fear your Lord. Fear your Lord. Inna zalzalat as-sa'ati shay'un 'azim. Why? Because the shaking, the earthquake on that day is mighty, it's severe. Brothers and sisters, imagine trying to stand before Allah on that day when the earth beneath our feet is shaken. In the next ayah, Allah said, وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى. You will see the people, they will look like they're drunk. وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى. But they're not drunk. They're not drunk. They're walking around shaky days. They can't stand on this floor. This earth is shaking. Allah saying they look drunk. وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى. But they're not drunk. But why is it? Why is it that they look drunk? وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيدٌ. Rather, it is the punishment of Allah that is severe. Brothers and sisters, on that day, no one will speak. On that day, they will stand before Allah silent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَخَشَعَتِ الْأَصْوَاتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ فَلَا تَسْمَعُ إِلَّا هَمْسًا. On this day, hellfire is there, Jannah is there, the angels are there, everyone, billions and billions of people are there, lined up. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخَشَعَتِ الْأَصْوَاتِ وَخَشَعَتِ الْأَصْوَاتِ. On that day, the voices, the voices of the people will be quiet. Silence. Silence. No one's going to talk. لِلرَّحْمَنِ. There'll be silence because of the presence of Ar-Rahman. And you know what amazes me is that this is a scary ayah. This is an ayah in which Allah is trying to instill fear in our hearts, that on that day we're going to be so scared, no one will raise their voice before Allah. But Allah didn't forget to remind us of how merciful He is, because He mentioned that these voices will be humbled in fear, but before Ar-Rahman. Because there are going to be those people who are going to get Allah's mercy. There are those people who are not going to be punished. They're going to be taken care of. But there will be a group of people who will be punished. Who will be punished. Those who didn't stand before Allah in obedience in this life. The ayah continues, وَخَشَعَتِ الْأَصْوَاتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ فَلَا تَسْمَعُ إِلَّا هَمْسًا. We will hear a sound though. Not our voices. Hamsa. Just the sound of, the sound where you hear footsteps. People walking slowly, slowly, walking to the presence of their Lord. It's going to be so quiet that you'll be able to hear every tiny footstep that people will make. Pin drop silence that you can hear. The small, tiny steps. That is that day. وَتَرَى كُلَّ أُمَّةٍ جَاثِيَةٍ. Allah said every single nation will drop to their knees. Every nation will fall on their knees. Brothers and sisters, that is the day that me and you are all going to face. We're all going to stand in front of Allah on that day. My question to you is, how do we make sure that when we stand before Allah on that day, our standing is a good standing? A standing where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at us and we meet Ar-Rahman, we meet the Merciful, and He enters us into paradise. أُدْخُلُوهَا بِسَلَامٍ ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ الْخُلُودِ. Enter in peace. That is where you will stay for eternity. And how do we protect ourselves from the standing where we meet Al-Jabbar, Al-Qahar, Al-Azim, the one who subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at those evil sinners, disbelievers, the people who did not pray, and He says to His angels, take them to the hellfire. Take them to the hellfire. And the hellfire, Allah will look to it after filling it up with all these people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, يَوْمَ نَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمْ حَلِمْ تَلَتْ. Jahannam, have we filled you up? Filled you up with those people who did not stand in prayer? Have we filled you up? Jahannam will say, هَلْ مِن مَزِيد. Allah, is there more? I'm not full yet. I'm not full yet. Give me more of these people that did not stand before you and pray. Brothers and sisters, that is the day where we will all stand. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, to conclude, he mentioned, if a person wants to perfect his standing before Allah on that day so he has a good standing, then the way he can see how he will stand on that day is by looking at how he or she stands in this life before Allah. How do you stand before Allah? Do you pray the 5 daily prayers? When you pray your 5 daily prayers, do you pray them how the Prophet prayed? It's not enough to just stand, but stand how the Prophet stood. What was his sunnah? Have you and I taken the time out to study the fiqh of salah? How? The Prophet said, pray how you see me pray. But we don't know how the Prophet prayed. It's all there. Books have been written about it. It's the most thing that the Prophet taught us, but have we taken the time out to learn that? Brothers and sisters, we didn't. We didn't. So how are we confident thinking we can stand on that day? Well, we don't know how to stand in this life before Allah and khushu', to stand before Allah in humility. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful indeed are the believers. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. The ones who inside of their salah, they had khushu'. Khushu' means to be in a state of fear and concentration and focusedness. Your outer body is silent. Your inner body is silent too. You don't have no random thoughts. You're focused that Allah is who you're standing before. Brothers and sisters, I actually have a video on the issue of khushu', which inshallah will benefit you. If you go to the link below, I've placed the video there. It's called the Salah like you never heard it before. But I beg you, brothers and sisters, please, look at how you stand before Allah in this life and then compare that. That is an indicator to you and I of how we will stand on that day. Brothers and sisters, pray. Please, I beg you, pray. I'm asking you, for the one who watched this video to the end here, send this video out to the brothers and sisters who do not pray. Send this video to everyone that you know who doesn't pray their salah the way that they're supposed to pray their salah. Brothers and sisters, please, let this be a wake-up call to you. Know that a person who misses even one prayer, they leave the fold of Islam. They leave the fold of Islam. It is a condition for your Islam, the salah, the namaz. And if you guys don't know how to pray and you don't know who you're standing before, then we have a resource for you online where you can learn. You can learn your prayer. MuslimSurvivalGuide.com. It's an online program that we have. An online program where you can learn who Allah is. You can learn who the Prophet is. You can learn the salah, how to pray, how to do it properly. Zakat, fasting, al-hajj, the main pillars of your religion. And you can learn it from the comfort of your home. Properly. You want to learn how to have khushu'? In detail we'll go through it. You want to learn how to stand in every who you're standing before? All of that. Please go to the link below. Please go to the link below. If you don't know, MuslimSurvivalGuide.com. In the meantime, like the video, share the video, and send it out to as many brothers and sisters as you can. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.